No, thank you. Sleepy. Come back in an hour.
Need sleepy.
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calagione. It's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing A-OK on this fan-driven Friday. We're glad to be with you, and of course, we're glad you're with us right now. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located in St. Simons Island, Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why we just go crazy over all the food at Sal's restaurant, not just the pizza, which is really the best around, but the whole menu and the specials. And don't forget, if you're heading south, it's 10 minutes out of your way, maybe 15 with a couple of lights if you get the red lights, to get out of your way off of I-95 on your way south. Swing by and I will guarantee that it will become a permanent stop for you going south or even north on I-95 at St. Simons Island. So the Brunswick exit, just email me and I'll hook you right up. salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by JKJ Boxing Magazine. Want a free copy? I'll hook you up. Visit my website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the JKJ Boxing Magazine cover, which is located on the right-hand side. And today's show is being brought to you in part by Tom Molyneux's, my book, Tom Molyneux's book. He wrote it himself. No, my book on Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. It's available right now where all good books are sold, and you can get a copy right now. Go to Amazon.com, go to BarnesandNoble.com, find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board. Find out why it's in the works right now as we speak to put it on the big screen. Read the book now. Get yourself a copy. Hey, if you want a signed copy, visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the book club section and follow the directions there and check out all the other books. Hey, as a reminder, we want to welcome our audience from Fight TV. And you can check out on your mobile device, Fight, FITE.TV. It's the new place for combat sports, and we're glad to be part of Fight TV's programming. And you can catch us right here on Fight TV every day. So check us out. And by the way, today is Fan Driven Friday. We would love to hear from some Fight TV viewers. So if you're checking out the show, we're going to open up the phone lines here in a little bit. And we'd love to get your thoughts and maybe answer some questions, whatever. Speaking of our topics today, first and foremost, Triple G, the guy who normally is very reserved, never has anything bad to say, told it like it is yesterday from his training camp at Big Bear. Some great stuff, putting these big mouth punks in their place, basically telling them to put up or shut up. I'll read you those quotes in a little bit. We also got some final quotes from Robert De Ghost Guerrero and his opponent coming up Saturday. Manny Pacquiao. He's voting for the death penalty for drug dealers in the Philippines. I'll give you some of his reasons why. Some other crazy stuff going on. Jose Benavidez Jr. was shot in Arizona. You know he's the undefeated welterweight. 25-0. He's looking like he's going to be okay, but he was shot the other day. Something that flew under the radar. We'll talk about that. And James Kirkland, a guy that seemingly was on his way to fame and fortune because of his exciting style and everything else. He was being trained from Ann Wolf, in and out of jail. He was arrested again. I'll fill you in on all of that. But joining me right now from beautiful St. Simon's Island. It's not so beautiful here in the Adirondack Mountains of New York State, but I'm sure it's always beautiful in St. Simon's. Please welcome the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the pizza guy himself, Sal Rocky Senecola. What's up, Sal?
Good morning, Bill. How are you? I couldn't have written that better myself.
Hey, I thought you did write it. I was reading what you told me to say. Wait. Hey, listen, wait. I thought, wait a minute. I got an envelope. It had a whole bunch of cash in it, and it said, if you read this, I'll keep sending it to you. Wasn't that from you? Wait a minute. I'm sorry.
It sounds like some other political money shuffling.
There you go. There you go. What's going on, man? How's the weather down there?
Oh, man, it's beautiful. I live in semi-paradise.
I know.
It's beautiful.
Except
Very
for
nice. Every day's great.
Except for the humidity.
I go for my early runs and come back, and I have a nice workout on the Bowflex, and and I always dream about that next comeback when I'm going to get it, but I got to get the surgery taking place first.
There you go with the Bowflex.
So, but here's the
no. There you go. There you go, promoting the Bowflex without them giving. What is with you? Why couldn't you just say I was working out? You didn't have to say. And I'm like you too, man. I go for my morning run too. As soon as I have a couple of coffee, I get the runs pretty bad. I got to run to the bathroom, but anyway,
man.
Crazy stuff.
Go
ahead. Tell me, Sal, before I get on a roll here.
No, I'm on a bagel right now.
There you go. At least I know you're awake now, But some crazy stuff, man. Triple G, we both love Triple G. Check this out, man. He, normally, Triple G, I mean, have you ever heard him say anything negative? I mean, he's always saying big drama show, and all of this stuff. I mean, we say negative things about some of the chicken shits that won't fight him, but he's never come out and said anything negative. Have you heard him?
You know what? What I love about Triple G is he leads by example. What you would have in mind as a gentleman, as a all business. Let's get down and get dirty, do my training, no talk, just let my actions speak for myself, and let me go in the ring and destroy everybody they put in front of me. No, he's a great guy, straight guy. I haven't heard him say squat, really.
Well, check this out.
So I want to hear what he said, because I can't wait to hear what he said.
So they interviewed him yesterday. Some people were interviewing him, and I got some quotes from the interview. And first and foremost, of course, they asked him about his upcoming fight September 10th with Kell Brook. And Triple G says, and all of these are quotes from Triple G. He says, right now my focus is 100% on Kell Brook. He signed the contract, and that's who I'm ready to fight. I got a great deal of respect for him. This is my first fight in England, and I'm very excited to fight in a new country. So right there, that statement, he signed the contract. I
never heard a fighter say that.
Well, no. But what I'm saying is it's kind of like the underlying, which kind of lays the groundwork for some of his other comments, because he was asked about WBO champion Billy Joe Saunders. Now, we all thought that Triple G was going to fight Billy Joe Saunders, but Billy Joe Saunders, pulled a like all of the rest of them. So they asked him about that. And as far as Billy Joe Saunders, he says, yeah, I want to unify the middleweight division titles, but I don't know if Billy Joe Saunders really wants to fight me, which is pretty true. Then they asked him on some of the rumors that everybody, is saying, oh, well, he's got to do this. He's got to fight this guy. He's got to move up. He's got to move to this weight and that weight. So they asked him, what's your thoughts about moving up to 168 and fighting some of that? This is where he started getting pretty, I don't know, a little uptight. He goes, move up to 168 pounds for what? Who's going to fight me there? Which champion at that weight will actually agree to fight me? Right now, I make 160 easily, and I'm comfortable here. Look at me. I'm a regular size middleweight, which is true. If he goes to 168, who's going to fight him at 168? I mean, he's telling it like it is. They asked him about fighting some other fighters, and he says, He says, listen, there's just too much talking about fighting me. Canelo, Chris Eubank, Saunders, Carl Froch, they all act like clowns with no respect to the sport. I'm here right now. Sign the contract and fight me. Any of them. It doesn't matter which one. Now, I mean, come on. How much more blunt can you be? This is something that you and I talk about all the time, Sal. I mean, listen, all these fans that criticize Triple G for not having a big name on his resume or not fighting this one or not fighting that one, the bottom line is they don't want to fight him. Carl Froch talking smack, Billy Joe Saunders talking smack, Chris Eubank, etc., all talking smack, but none of them actually put their name on the paper. What do you think?
I think you're 100% right. I mean, Triple G, for him to say, again, 168, the guy is a legitimate middleweight, and he is the best middleweight out there. He is a world champion. Let all people that want to fight and put up their dollars, their career, their record against Triple G as a legitimate middleweight, no catchweight and all this other stuff, and let's see a fight. And he's offering you to sign that contract, take on all comers that the sanctioning bodies will allow the fight to happen. I think the guy's tremendous. He's a great example of what a champion should be and how a champion should conduct himself in and outside the ring.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm glad that he's finally telling it like it is. And just FYI, Canelo and Oscar De La Hoya were, they're trying to promote and make his fight against Liam Smith somewhat interesting. I don't know who's really interested in it, and Canelo is claiming that his real weight is 154, and they asked him what he thought about what Triple G is saying, and the fact that basically Canelo has put off the Triple G fight, and Canelo said, and I quote, "There's always going to be critics out there, but at the end of the day, I have to do what's best for me and my career." I tell you what, I don't think he's lying, because he clearly chose what was best for him and not what the fans want, and not what's best for the sport. And that's one of the things that we say here on this show constantly, Sal, that a lot of the mentality of the fighters of today are all about themselves and have no really, they don't give a crap about the sport of boxing and its history.
No, they don't. They just look at about the me, and about what the whole their little world in front of them and immediate future is all about. They don't look at the macro picture of what it's going to be at the end of their last bell in the ring. And no, it's a different game, but it still works because it's the old squared circle, and we have the new pretenders and the contenders that are out there every day, and we know who the pretenders are, we know who the contenders are, and unfortunately we know how many too many world champions in each weight class there are too.
No, I can't even count that. I can't even count that high.
Forget about it.
Anyway, Jose Benavidez Jr., who's a welterweight, up and coming welterweight. He's 25-0. He fought recently, and is an exciting fight. A lot of people think he might be one of those other names that are coming up in the mix. Was taking a walk Tuesday morning and was shot. Apparently, he is going to be okay. And according to the story, he was out walking one of his dogs in the Phoenix, Arizona area, and he was approached by a guy who he didn't know, who pulled out a gun and shot him in the leg. Wow. The police department out of Phoenix confirmed it, but said that the injuries weren't serious, and shouldn't threaten his life nor his boxing career. But as of this morning, no one was arrested in this. So pretty strange thing. And speaking of getting arrested, James Kirkland, he was a former junior middleweight world champion. Been in and out of jail for some stupid things. It was reported that he got arrested again and was put into the slammer. Subsequently has been released on his own bail. But this time he was arrested because he hasn't paid his child support. He was released on a bond for a little over $15,000, and in some states, now I'm not sure how that is in Texas because that's where he is. Some states make the bond the amount of what the person owes for child support. So it's very, very possible that that was what he owed. I wonder what these guys, why they don't pay the child support. I mean, it's, I don't know. And they base it on what he makes and everything else. So James Kirkland continue to spiral downward. I mean, it's a shame. It's a shame about that, to be honest with you, Sal.
Oh yeah, big time. I believe me. I know paying child support is something that is a responsibility, and you can't walk away from your responsibilities.
And they base it on what they made, and apparently, what he owes was based on the last year's worth of purses he made, which was slightly over $1 million. So, anyway, we got an email. This one's from Jesse. He says, "Hey Billy, Canelo said that the Margarito bout will not happen," and he's referring to the possibility, at least as far as Antonio Margarito thought, that he was going to fight him next to avenge his brother's loss. But according to Canelo, says it's not going to happen. Jesse wants me to ask me, do I think that he will happen, or that Canelo is lying again? Supposedly, Canelo says to Margarito that he should retire because the sport's dangerous for him. Do it for his family. I wouldn't be surprised, Jesse, if Canelo fights Antonio Margarito because he's a name and obviously he's trying to pad his bank account. But to be honest with you, a win over Antonio Margarito does nothing for Saul Canelo Alvarez. I think the fact that Alvarez has avoided Triple G has hurt him to a degree, maybe not with his diehard Mexican fans, but certainly a lot of fans here in the States. I would think that after this fight with Liam Smith, if Canelo doesn't step up and fight Triple G next, I really believe that his value is going to sink pretty quickly. I think it's already taken a hit. So the Margarito fight really does nothing for him. He says, what's your thoughts on Laron Mitchell? He was born in Los Banos, which is about 20 minutes from where I live. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. Laron Mitchell is fighting, I believe, this weekend. I think we have him on our challenge. Yeah, we have him. He's an undefeated heavyweight, and we have him on our challenge. So I think he's going to do okay this weekend. And, hey, anytime you have a young heavyweight up and coming, it's always a good thing. He says, what's next for Khalid Plant? Is he ready for such names as Brian Vera? I think Brian Vera is a good opponent for Khalid Plant. I think that the only question I have about that is Brian Vera is in. I don't know. I think Brian Vera should hang him up, Sal. He's been in some wars, and the last time I saw him personally was up at the Turning Stone, and he was already slurring his words and stuff. And he's had 2 fights since. So I don't know. I think these guys need to be advised when to hang him up. What do you think?
Well, that's a big thing, and I'm telling you, I agree with you 100%. It's like that doctor once told me, hey, you want to play with your grandchildren one day, you want to do other things and conquer other challenges, make sure you get out in boxing and retire before it's too late. And, that was it. You knew that the longer you stay in the game and the style you fight, it's going to catch up with you one day or another. And I think that's something that, especially some of these brawlers who take a lot of shots, should consider. Have a date and just, hey, see what you want to do. Is the prize still worth the price? And if the prize still worth the price, then go fight. Free world, go ahead. If not, it's time to move on.
There you go. You know what I always say: wherever you go, there you are.
You know what? I gave you credit because I said the same thing yesterday, and I said that's a famous quote from my good friend and co-host, you, Billy.
Oh, is that me? Joel's got a email here. He says, I was looking over what's going on in Germany in the next couple of weeks and months, and I noticed light heavyweight Anvil Anvili Yildirim is facing Aaron Pryor. Yes, that's on our fight challenge, Billy C challenge this week. He says, I think he will decision or stop Aaron late. I would like to see Yildirim move up, step up his level of competition eventually. But as you always say, safety first. I don't know. I think the fighters are safety first. But, listen, make sure you guys take that in the right context, because I don't sometimes you guys, meaning the fans, have a tendency to take these young fighters and want to rush them a little too much. I'm not saying that. What I say is, don't feed a young prospect a steady diet of pushover opponents or cupcakes or punching bags, if you will. You need to step up the level of opposition each fight. That doesn't mean I want to see them in, killer fights going for the top guys right out of the gate. No, that's not what I mean. What I mean by that, Sal, and you know this, is that they need to step up their level of opposition slowly so that they get a chance to be better. I don't think that these young fighters really are gaining anything by beating up guys that, have no business being in the ring with them. And as they get better, they need to, slowly increase their level of opposition in order for them to get better.
No, I agree with you. In fact, I don't know if you want me to comment too much about the Plant fight I saw the other night against the Angel, but, I thought Plant, even though he was undefeated, I think he had a record of 13 wins and no defeats. He looked average at best, maybe. I didn't think he was a world-class fighter in no way, shape, or form.
Well, with that many fights, he shouldn't be expected to.
He shouldn't be expected to be a world-class fighter.
Right.
But he should have been able to do some more things than what I saw him doing the other night.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when we see some of these young fighters coming out and they don't know how to cut the ring off, they're not holding their hands right, and they're pounding their chest
together.
Yeah, they're pounding on their chest saying they're the best. I mean, that's the joke of it all,
Yeah.
But anyway, he says, I also noticed in the middle of September there's a crossroads fight between Firat Arslan, who's now 45, and Nuri Safiri. I feel, though, the winner won't go far beyond that, to be honest, because they're both older and faded former challengers. You see, that's the move today, Joel, with promoters. They get an old fighter that has a name that people know or recognize, and they get them a W, and then they feed them to one of their young champions, and we're supposed to accept that. So I agree with you 100%. Neither one of those guys really should be fighting, but at least they're fighting each other. It's where they go, but it's where they go from there that you could be critical, And he says, finally, what's your and Sal's thoughts on Jürgen Brähmer and Nathan Cleverly going at it in Germany on October 1st? Can Cleverly reclaim the light heavyweight spotlight, or will Brähmer decision or KO him? I'm intrigued by that fight. Me too. I think Nathan Cleverly needs to perform. I think he does have the skill set. I don't give Brähmer as much credit as some of the others do, although he hasn't lost in quite some time. I don't know. I think this is actually a good fight and a good gauge for us to see where both of these guys are. And I don't want to be critical of Brähmer too much, but I think it's a great fight. I think, even though it's going to be for Brähmer's title, I think it's kind of a crossroads fight for these guys. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. It's a good fight for them, and see what happens. Who's going to go on, who's not.
Let's open up the phone lines. I'd love to hear from a Fight TV viewer right now. 845-228-8710. Remember, we're live right now, so if you're listening to a replay or a podcast or listening on a radio dial sometime outside of 8 a.m. Eastern Time, we're not live to you, but we're live right now, so 845-228-8710. We want to hear from you. What's your thoughts on whatever? Manny Pacquiao, who wants the death penalty in the Philippines for drug dealers, which is kind of crazy in a way, but he quoted some things in the Bible that he claims is his reasoning. I'll get to that in a second, but first, we got a caller on the line, and I believe it's Joel. Joel, is that you?
It is, guys. How are you? Good morning.
What's up, man?
Good morning, Joel. How you doing?
What's on your mind today,
Doing
brother?
well. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I agree. Like how I kind of, measure it is if a guy like Yildirim is fighting, former title challengers or champions like Glenn Johnson and so forth, you're fighting that kind of level guy, Aaron Pryor Jr. Eventually you should be stepping up. I mean, he's not too young. He's 25. He's been fighting these kind of guys for a while. It's time to move up. I mean, it's time to. But I mean, like in Europe, look at Chris Eubank. He's fighting this Langford guy in a month or two. Here's a guy calling out Triple G. I want him put pen to paper. Triple G does. Saunders. I mean, and this is what they're going to keep fighting. These steady diet of domestic guys, and they'll never fight. I think they'll probably more than likely fight each other first before they take any serious, top level middleweight. Don't you? What do you think?
Well, I think that once you're claiming to be a world champion, whether you were ready to get the title or not, it's time to fight world class and high, level A, so to speak, fighters. And when a fighter doesn't say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I want this guy, I want that guy, when they don't say that, it's hard to be critical. But when they're calling them out and pounding on their chest and saying they're the best, and then you get third tier level fighter that they fight rather than taking on that first tier, then you could be critical. And I think that that's exactly what Billy Joe Saunders did. Chris Eubank might have been rushed a little quickly for his shot. A domestic fight between those two would be good in England. But again, if those guys weren't both shooting off their mouth saying that they could beat Triple G, it becomes less value to me, at least in my opinion. What do you think, Sal?
I think you're right. You made me reflect back a little bit. We talked about whether we thought that Anthony Joshua was ready to be a heavyweight champion of the world. Well, here he is. He is the heavyweight champion of the world, at least one version of it. And he's not ducking anybody, and he's looking to fight better opposition, whether he's ready to or not. He's a world champion, and he's going to take on all comers, I think. So, yeah, you got to watch what you say. You got to watch your actions and lead by example.
I think that's, that what you just said has been my platform with boxing. That was one of my hang-ups with some of the fighters that, are constantly talking smack, in the past, Hall of Famers, Larry Holmes and Lennox Lewis, during their careers, I wasn't big fans because they always got behind a mic and said, I don't get respect, I'm this, I'm that. And boxing is one of the sports that you don't have to tell people that you want respect. You don't have to complain that you don't get it. All you have to do is perform, and it happens automatically, And that's what bothers me today. A lot of fighters are behind the mic or in the press or on the internet or in social media, saying how good they are, saying how they're not, getting the respect. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and they don't do it. And boxing's pretty fair. If you perform, the fans respect it. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry in my opinion.
Well, that's what's beautiful about the sport. It's like you're either going to win, you're going to lose. You're going to do well, you're not going to do well. And, I remember, when Richie Cicchetti was my co-manager, and I had many opportunities to spend also with Larry Holmes, who Richie Cicchetti did manage. And there were a couple shows I fought with Mark Holmes, his younger brother, and got to go to his Commodore Inn in Pennsylvania. And Larry came to a couple of my fights too. But I remember when Larry Holmes was champion after Muhammad Ali, it seems like 3/4 of the time he was saying how he's in the shadow of Muhammad Ali and he's not getting the credit or the respect because, and it became almost his own little reality. But to his defense, the guy could fight, and he fought pretty much anybody that they put in front of him, and he won.
You always, throughout the history of boxing, the new guy is always in the shadow of the previous generation's champion. Always.
Yep.
And it's something that it sucks, and I agree. It sucks, But you kind of got to be ready for that, And you'll get your due next time. It's always a generation behind, Hey, listen, when all is said and done, even a guy like Floyd Mayweather, who I'm not a big fan of, he's going to get his due.
Get his due.
Today, a lot of people, I think give him too much credit. But when the smoke clears, he'll get his due. He'll get compared when there's another, 5-10 years from now, when there's another top guy. That'll people will be comparing him to a Mayweather or a Pacquiao, etc. And that's just the nature of the beast, man.
Absolutely.
What else, Judd?
Yeah, no.
What else you got?
I wanted to get your opinion. I was reading on Instagram the other day that Phil made an interesting point that with Luis Ortiz being dropped, getting out of his contract with Golden Boy, that there were so many other heavyweights, younger or like Sal just said, Anthony Joshua. I forgot the other names he mentioned. How he was beating all these guys, and they didn't give him a title shot, and they mishandled their heavyweights. I mean, that's not me again, that's someone else, but do you think that that's a fair statement, that they just sometimes overlook some of their talent or maybe their heavyweights, and how other promoters get their heavyweight guys title fights, or do you think that they did the right job with him?
Well, first of all, I guess he forgot that he is holding a title, and he did get the title while he was under Golden Boy. I mean, it's an interim title, but that's just the way it is. I mean, he did get a title shot, and he is regarded as a title holder. As far as getting other big fights, I mean, I don't know if you can blame that on Golden Boy. The nature and the landscape of boxing today is a lot of political BS, and get in line or wait for this, wait for that. I don't think that was the case. I think it was more of a situation where all of a sudden people got in Luis Ortiz's ear, which this is a common scenario. Got in his ear. Said that we don't need Golden Boy anymore. We could get our own. We can avoid giving Golden Boy their cut, et cetera, and bought out the contract. I mean, listen, the beauty of smart boxing contracts, and every contract that I've ever signed with a fighter, I always put a buyout clause in there for both sides. And that's exactly what Golden Boy did. And Luis Ortiz wants to get out of his contract earlier than what the term is. It's simple. Buy him out. And that's exactly what they did. It cost Team Ortiz $1 million. So whoever wrote the check, they wrote the check. Now they're on their own. Let's see what happens. One of the biggest weaknesses with fighters is when there's not a promoter in a position to put on big fights that have contacts for television and different big productions and so on and so forth. And my first question to Team Ortiz is, well, if you're not with Golden Boy, who are you going to go with? You're not doing it on your own. No promoter is going to just say, oh yeah, let's fight Ortiz without making him sign. They're not going to do it. It's all about the money. So when you see, listen. There's a lot of good young fighters out there that no one ever sees because they don't sign with anyone, and they end up with a management team that just can't get them the fights. If there's a fight in your hometown and you're not signed with that promoter, he's not going to put you on. What's in it for him? You know what I mean? That's the truth, So it's the way the business works. I think Ortiz might have made a mistake here, but we'll see. Maybe he had something in the works. To me, the only names that make financial sense for Ortiz right now are all the big names. Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Vladimir Klitschko. Those are the names. Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder's. He's got a guy lined up when he's healthy. So I don't know. I think it was a mistake personally.
I just want to quickly ask you, who do you think? I was waiting to hear from Dax earlier this week, and I guess it's not him. It was Eddie Hearn, but they didn't announce yet who AJ is going to fight. Who do you think Anthony Joshua keeps up the level of competition? There was a rumor of David Price. I think that's a huge step down. I think David Price, has this idea that even though Erkan Tepper was caught with whatever a positive steroid test or whatever he had in his system that he can fight on. But I think a guy like that would be horrible. I just hope they I know there's maybe not too many guys available or too many guys willing to fight him, but I just hope that what is that, probably around Thanksgiving weekend or the weekend after, I forget what it falls on this year, but I just hope that weekend in November he keeps up the level of that level of opposition where I can see it on Showtime. Because I like when he fights these kind of guys, and I like Showtime. Presenting it and putting it on TV. It's fun, but I just want to see him fight somebody. Who do you think he'll continue that, or he'll step down?
Well, technically, Luis Ortiz is supposedly in a purse bid to fight Alexander. Who is it? Ustinov. Alexander. Alexander Ustinov. And I think that's a fight that would have been valuable to Ortiz if he was with Golden Boy. But without Golden Boy, that means he's just defending an interim belt that would set up a fight, WBA has got like this other thing going on with Shigaev and the kid from Chicago that I always forget his name, who hasn't fought, and he's actually a guy. So to keep dancing around the question, my bottom line is this. I think that Anthony Joshua is going to fight one or two fighters next. Joseph Parker has been a name that we've heard that is, a possibility. A lot of people love Joseph Parker. They think he's a good fighter. I think he's a good fighter. So that's a good fight for Anthony Joshua. But I would not be shocked if Luis Ortiz throws away the WBA interim belt and takes a fight with Anthony Joshua in England. That would be a big fight. It would keep in line with Anthony Joshua taking on the challenges, and I think, to be honest with you, it would probably be the biggest and most competitive fight in the heavyweight division, and it wouldn't shock me to see AJ take on Luis Ortiz. And Luis Ortiz is looking for big paydays. He's no spring chicken. Those Cuban fighters.
Yeah, he's 37.
Yeah, those Cuban fighters are in the amateurs for so long. I would not. There's no way that he's going to make the same kind of money fighting Alexander Ustinov as he, no matter who's the promoter, no matter where the fight is, as he could fighting Anthony Joshua. So I would not be shocked if Anthony Joshua fights Luis Ortiz next, because Deontay Wilder certainly doesn't want any part of him, and he doesn't. And besides,
I know.
Deontay Wilder's got to fight. He's going to be fighting the winner of the who they have.
Stavern and
Stavern
and Povetkin.
Stavern and Povetkin. Poor Povetkin. He's fought I don't know how many eliminators. He's been the number one guy for so long, and how Stavern gets a shot, not even in the top 20. I don't know, but anyway, that's just them trying to bend for Deontay and keep giving him easy opponents. But yeah, I could see Ortiz taking on AJ.
That would be great. But look, I'll let you go. Sal, very nice chatting with you. You guys have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you guys next week.
All right, brother.
Joel, you too. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Take care, buddy.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, Anthony Joshua, Sal, is the man. I mean, there's no.
I like him.
No,
He's a
I
good,
love
solid
him.
guy.
I love him. Manny Pacquiao. He, we all know that he's, a politician now in the Philippines, and he did a speech in front of the Senate. It was his first speech. We were talking about it, but now some things came out. He said, as far as the death penalty is concerned, most people feel that unless you kill someone, really, and if it's horrific, that the death penalty, and this is just some people's belief, shouldn't come into play. Well, Manny Pacquiao has taken his governmental stance and tied it in with his religious stance, and he says that it's moral, the death penalty, and sanctioned governmental action. He says, since I read the Bible on a regular basis, I could quote 3 places that it says in both the New and Old Testaments. One is Genesis 9:6. He says, whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood be shed. He quotes another one from Exodus 21:12. He says, "Who calls for a person who strikes a fatal blow to a fellow human should be put to death." And in the New Testament, Romans 13:4, he says, "Punishment on the wrongdoer." He says, while government punishes, it's not an individual act. That's only approved by God. He says, drug addicts are addicted to drugs. Drug lords are addicted to money. We need to speak criminal minds in the only language they understand. They must understand that our government will stop it, and that's why he feels that drug dealers should get the death penalty. I don't know, man. I guess it's a matter of opinion, but I've always said religion and politics shouldn't be mixed together, Sal.
Unless they're on the same page. But I'll tell you what, there might be some meat to the bones of what he's saying. And you know what? You've always wanted to put into force the laws that would deter people from taking the actions that are detrimental to others or so. And death penalty may have that kind of response. I'm not saying a first-time offender, but maybe a second or third. Who the heck knows? But you also have these drug dealers that are, like he said, their money is their goal.
They're not forcing. They're not forcing people to take drugs. It's a really dicey situation.
It's a can of worms.
Yeah, it's a dicey situation because whether you believe in the death penalty or not, the only justification, if you do believe in it, is if somebody takes another life, an eye for an eye, so to speak. But a drug dealer, they're making money. They're taking advantage of an addict, but nobody's forcing the addict to do it. Nobody's, forcing a drug addict to take the drug or the alcoholic to take the drink. So I don't know. It's a dicey situation, but let's get back to boxing. And joining us right now is Dax Khan. What's your thoughts?
Oh, a lot of stuff going on this week. I actually haven't been able to stop by and speak. I've been up to some other things this week. But first, just want to hit up is Errol Spence now. He is a legitimized superstar with that 6 million views.
No doubt about that. He had a great performance. He looked good. We talked about the viewers and Errol Spence pretty in depth earlier in the week. So I agree with you there. He's officially.
To cut you off, Bill, it wasn't the 6 million views that was so impressive that legitimizes that number. It's the fact that because those views, when they give out those numbers, of course they use the affiliates, they use the tape delays in other areas, etc. But 75% of those numbers were during the live show when it aired at the original time. 4.6 million of those were there just for Errol Spence, and then those numbers dropped, and the 1.4 million is what came about all the rest of the shows, meaning the telecast, the replays, and all that other stuff. So that is phenomenal.
No doubt. Network television on a Sunday afternoon. I mean, everything, all the stars were aligned for them, and hopefully he can carry that. I mean, he definitely, listen, what he did in that performance, especially in front of the huge audience that he gathered there, is good for him, and it's good for the sport because people got to see what they really want. They want to see a guy who can, box from a technical standpoint and then finish the show. So kudos to him and the PBC for putting it on and everything aligned for them. And they had that was a good day of boxing. It's just on Sundays it's typically not going to work during NFL, but they got it at a good point. Before NFL, and baseball is winding down, and I think, like I said, all the stars aligned. They had the right guys and fighting, and I think it was good, and girls. So it was a great broadcast. I was really happy to see those numbers.
Maybe on a Saturday. What do you think of that? And I was discussing that with a few other people.
Well, definitely, you're never going to listen. Here in the States, anyway, they're never going to compete with the sport of football. Boxing will never compete with football, especially college football on Saturdays, NFL football on Sundays, NFL football on Monday nights. But in the off season, that's very viable. It really is. But that window is open for a little while as the fall comes here. They're not going to compete with football. They're just not. But any other time of year, I love it.
It's true. And now back to Cuban fighters. You were just discussing Luis Ortiz. Now Guillermo Rigondeaux, another Cuban guy, has a hard time getting fights. Now, so he's seeking his own fight, but it's not in boxing. He's actually seeking a fight with Conor McGregor.
Really? I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that. That's wild.
Oh, yeah, he's seeking a fight with Conor McGregor. He's sending out videos of himself training in his stand-up game, I guess. You know, he does have a nice kick on him. I got to give him credit for that. And so he's been putting out these videos of him doing some MMA training, both the stand-up and the ground game. And when he sends these out, he's also giving a little personal message besides. And since all the men in boxing are scared to fight me, you know, how about Conor McGregor? I know he's a man; he'll fight me. And he goes, at least the Irish have heart.
You know, it is. He's got some truth to his complaint, Dax, because. You know, and this is, you know, our platform most of the time here on this show is that, you know, boxing has become such a safety first, and like Canelo says, I got to do what's good for me, and all of this stuff, and the sport itself is you know, secondary to these guys, and you know, it's a shame that a guy, any good fighter, any quality fighter, can't find fights because nobody's willing to risk getting in the ring with him, and that's exactly what's happening with fighters like Rigondeaux and so on and so forth. The fighters that, you know, nobody wants to fight, and it's a shame. I mean, the same thing. Like I don't know if you caught what I was saying, but Triple G. I mean, I'd never heard him talk negatively about anybody, and he's finally at the end of his rope. You know, all these guys talking smack, mentioning his name, and he's like, sign a paper. I'll fight any of you. Sign the paper. You know, nobody wants to fight. You know, you got to love it. I mean, it's a shame. It's a shame that, you know, and what's even worse, that the fans accept it. They accept the safety first and defend it to a degree. You know, and that's a shame. You know, and
then they bash the fighter. Then they bash Triple G's level of competition. Not today, but maybe another day. I know. I got into this debate with somebody else where I actually broke down the statistics of the guys that he's fought, their win ratio, their loss ratio. And these guys that they're calling bums, actually they've faced better competition, and they've either beaten or been competitive against better competition than the other champions in that division have. And these are the guys they're calling bums. But that's for another day.
Well, it's a trend. You know, that's what they all do. It's almost like they use the name to get the headline, and then they go a different route, and then complain that the name that they use for the headline is either ducking them or doesn't fight anybody, et cetera, et cetera. You know, it's a joke, and you know, I hate to constantly. Well, I do a lot, but I'm not gonna mention the name, but you know, a lot of it has to do with that individual. I don't like to mention his name anymore because a lot of fighters are trying to emulate him. And
there's actually an article out there circulating around, and it's called I won't say his name because I know you don't like it, but it's called the blank effect. And there's a guy out there who put out a very interesting story, where he breaks down actually the point in time when this changed at certain fights in a certain person's career, and how the whole sport. How everybody started following this trend, not only fighters but fans, and he's dead on accurate with this. You know, he did a lot of research on this. It was so very interesting, and it was 100% correct. And so when you do say it, you are correct.
Well, he probably just listened to our show because we've been saying it for the last 2 years.
This was really in depth, though. It was very interesting, very spot on.
Well, it's 100% true, and the reason why is because of money. I mean, let's be real. You know, I don't knock any athlete, whether it's boxing, baseball, football, basketball, whatever, making the most money that they possibly can. I applaud them for it. But at the end of the day, there's a certain amount of, okay, like I'll give you an example. In basketball, Carmelo Anthony recently got all kinds of negativity in the press because of a statement he made about feeling that, you know, him winning another gold medal in the Olympics would put a cap on his career. And then everybody came down on him because he has yet to win an NBA championship. And that's ultimately the goal when basketball players get into the NBA is to win a championship. Well, it's similar in boxing. You win it. Titles are a lot easier to come by today, and then all they're caring about is the financial end. They're not caring about the sport, the history, fighting the big fights, and most importantly, it seems like they don't care about the fans. But once you have a fan base that supports that kind of fighting and cherry picking and ducking and maximizing dollars and cents, well, it's hard to fight it. It's hard to combat it as the other set of fans that don't support it. You know what I'm saying? So they was successful in smoke screening a generation of fans, and like I say all the time, I just don't think it's going to last. I can't see a young fan base who may be supportive of cherry picking and safety first now staying with the sport. I just don't see it, because at some point they're going to get bored.
I absolutely agree. I think the more that's another, and one thing advantage. I always speak about how a lot of these younger fans base everything off the internet, and they base all their knowledge on what they see on YouTube and these small clips. But when these, as you're stating, when these fights don't produce and they start comparing them to these clips that they see on YouTube from before they were around and they started watching boxing, I think that's when they're going to start demanding on hey, what happened to this? Why are we missing out?
Well, the other thing too with the technology is kind of hurting the history of the sport a little bit, and I'll give you a reason why. You got to go really as recently as the 80s to watch clips that can give you a good representation of how quick a fighter was or how elusive a fighter it was, et cetera, because the filming techniques and the quality of the film had improved. Now, obviously, you can't compare footage from the early or mid or even late 1980s to what we see today in high definition and so on and so forth. But if you take a clip of some great fighters, even the greatest of all time, Sugar Ray Robinson, and you watch his fights, and the young fan may not realize that they're filming this with one camera, maybe two. They didn't have the lighting correct. You always see these white canvases. It's bleached out. You can't get a true representation of the hand speed and the elusiveness, et cetera, et cetera. And it's very easy for them to discredit them. You go way back to like a Jack Johnson time when the guy was actually spinning, twirling, with a crank the camera, and as his arm's getting tired, the camera's recording slower, and how can you get his speed and elusiveness from that? And they're comparing that technology with film to today's, and they're saying, no way were those guys as good. It's kind of, ignorance in a way, but it's just the world that they live in. You know what I mean?
Coincidentally, you mentioned that. I'll respond to that and give you two more things, then I'll run. There was somebody had put up they posted up some footage of Harry Greb, and Harry was doing a little bit of training. And, he wasn't even doing, serious training. It was more or less where Harry was kind of kidding around. And actually in the training footage with him was Gene Tunney. And the person that put this up, they called Harry Greb a bum. They said, oh, look at him, look how crude he was. He was a bum. He wouldn't have lasted with any of the guys today. So Harry Greb was a bum. Well, look at the way he throws his hands, and look how he jumps rope, and look how he jabs. This guy, who could he have beaten today? Do you know the history of Harry Greb? Well, he had a padded record.
Yeah,
well,
padded record, my ass. Those guys back then fought everybody. Listen, all the fighters today, especially the guy that I don't even want to mention, never fought the best fighters in their primes. Never even fought the best. I mean, we did our blast the other day, and we were doing it on Sweet Pea Whitaker. And, I got some comments on social media that, my thing was that Sweet Pea and Floyd were very similar, technical fighters, but not exciting. But I was glad to see so many people that came to Sweet Pea's defense and said that...
I disagreed with that one myself.
Yeah, no. I was glad that people came to his defense and said, wait a minute, he was way more exciting than Floyd. And you know what? The majority is right. You know, I said that because I was trying to see how people would compare, and at least people realized that he was more exciting than Floyd Mayweather. And I can't stand when people use Floyd's, oh, that's boxing, that's defense, he still doesn't get hit. You know, yeah, well, he's not getting hit because he's 9 feet away from his opponent because he runs. You know, I mean, listen, at least Sweet Pea engaged at times and you know, did possess some power. So, yeah, I mean, listen, running and just hitting 1-2s, like Sal has said all the time, you can't just, you know, nail a 2-shot combo and run across the ring and then have people say that that's brilliant defense. You know, I mean, no, it's not. It's not.
I remember one of Purnell's fights. It was a title fight, and he's in the corner. Willingly, he let himself go into that corner, and the guy comes in, and 7 punches he missed. And, you know, Whitaker had his hands down around his waist. 7 punches this guy missed, and it was just all, you know, Purnell between his leaning back, almost like a Matrix type, and ducking down and turning, and then he spins out of that corner, and remember, he walks away, and he just looks at the camera, and he smiles, and his opponent was standing there, and the guy was just baffled. I'm like, well, what just happened?
Right.
You know, and then he turns around, and when Purnell, who was never a big puncher, all of a sudden, you know, he let loose about 3 or 4 punches, and he just walked back to his corner. He smiled again, and literally, I felt bad for the guy because he's just like, did this just really happen to me? It was almost like a skit.
You know, truth be told, and everybody knows that, you know, Floyd's not my, I don't like him in or out of the ring, but we never got to see the best Floyd. Floyd denied us of showing how great he actually could have been or is by choosing to be so safe and choosing not to engage for his own reasons, which, you know, again, you know, I'm not going to knock him. He's financially set, et cetera, et cetera. But the truth of the matter is I don't want to be a guy that just assumes how good a fighter is. You got to show me. You know, I'm not from Missouri, but show me. You know, and I think that Floyd could have.
I just got that.
Yeah, well, it's called the show me state. But anyway, you know, the truth of the matter is Floyd could have been, and that's the say. He has denied the sport of what he could have shown us, and I'm not just going to assume it that he could have done it. You know, I think he could have, but he never did. You know, and could you imagine if Floyd would have engaged even in a couple of the big fights where he could have demonstrated that he could exchange and stand in that pocket and make his opponent miss and in return land some punches, you know, in 6, 7, 8 punch combos. I mean, if he did that, guys like me wouldn't have anything negative to say, but he never did.
Well
the last
said.
time he did that was against Arturo Gatti.
What's that?
And that's when his style changed.
With what?
The last time he did that was against Arturo Gatti when he made that quick stop at 140 pounds, and then that's when Floyd's style changed.
Well, you know, was that the first fight that he was on his own? Was that the first?
That's when that transition was being made. It was I think that was 1 or 2 fights after the Corrales fight, and then he jumped to 140 because remember he only stayed at 140 for that one fight, and he fought Gatti, and that was at the time when Cotto was the killer. And that's when, all of a sudden, that's when we've seen that change there. You know, the Gatti fight was such a dominant performance, but, you know, he jumped up to 147, and that's when we started seeing these carefully thought out matchups, and not saying that they were cherry picks, but, you know, that's when he wasn't going for the killers like he was at the lower weight classes.
Yeah, well, if I recall the Gotti fight, he was so much bigger than Gotti, and I hate when people say that he's a small guy. He was fighting out of his. He's a bigger guy. That's why I've always thought, you know, with this whole Triple G thing, Floyd is as big as Triple G. There's no question about it. Height-wise, body build-wise, etc. He's the same size as Triple G. Triple G.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I've been
listen,
next to both of them.
Listen, Triple G is really. He is not a big middleweight. He is not a big middleweight. He shows that when he's in the ring. I mean, come on. You know, he's just not. You know, Canelo Alvarez is twice the size of Triple G. You know,
he's not a big middleweight because he walks around at that weight all the time.
So does Floyd.
So effective as a middleweight.
So you're right.
Above 170.
Who walks around at 170?
I said he never gets above 170. Triple G.
Yeah, no, for that 30-day weigh-in, he was
That's what makes him such an effective middleweight.
Yeah, that 30-day weigh-in, he was 164. You know, he's 4 pounds over his weight, and Kell Brook was 176. He was at the max. You know, so no, he's not a big middleweight. He's not. You want to see a big middleweight? You know, go look at Iran Barkley. That was a
oh
big,
gosh, wasn't he?
Wasn't he? I mean, holy
a couple
God.
other things. Mia St. John and her husband, her ex-husband, Christoph St. John. I know that a lot of people have been following the story about what happened over at Telecare Corp with their son, Julian St. John, a few years ago. Now, this is a company or a facility, you want to say, you know, for people who have mental issues, whether or not, you know, they are from some sort of head trauma, or if they're from, whether it be drug abuse or just people were born with it. And this is a facility that, you know, have had countless deaths. I mean, close to 10 deaths on record that are pretty much unaccounted for, and they have never been really probed to give any real reason on how these deaths occurred. A lot of these deaths were reported that people just came into the room and the patients were dead. And nobody ever really went any further in that out in California, and that's because this is a facility which is pretty much run through what I'm not really sure what their version is out there. In New York, and I believe it's called, like, you know, a Medicaid type thing, you know, a public insurance, and that's why this facility's been able to get away with that. And so they started their court battle there. They're trying to get Telecare shut down, and they're really trying to get a lot of support behind that. I'm just curious on your opinions on both you, Sal, and maybe anybody else out there. This is away from boxing, but you know, how is it that our government allows a facility to stay open like that, and these people, you know, pass away in there, and they never even have to answer for that, because this is the only type of place that will take a government type of health insurance?
I don't know enough about it, Dax, to even comment. I you know, just as a whole, you know, the whole way our system here in the United States with health insurance works kind of sucks. You know, I mean, I don't believe we get the right care. I think the first question is what kind of insurance you have, and then you get the care based on what your insurance covers. So I'm not a big fan of how our system works. I don't know enough about this particular issue that you're talking about. So really, I don't want to comment on it, because I blow shit out of my ass enough. I don't need to try and do something on this, you know. I don't know. Maybe Sal knows more about it than me.
Well, I know, you know, I dealt with insurance for many years as my former career, but you know, it's almost like insurance in politics. There's concessions. There's this, that. You know, even the health insurance. I remember in Jersey when the Blue Cross was. Whoops, did I mention another brand? One of the insurance companies was raising their rates at a time that wasn't expected, and you know, as I remembered, even health insurance is supposed to not make more than a 25% profit in any given year. So that's why they adjust so many of their plans, be the Reform or A, B, C, D plan, and they tweak them. One would be less expensive, one would be more expensive. And believe me, when it comes to insurance, there are actuaries behind it. These guys, they got it down. It's a science, and they know what they can expect. It's all based on probability and outcome.
Hey, Dax, we need to call Sal Fred Astaire, because he's dancing around your question pretty well here.
I was just curious on more or less just the fact that this was more or less just away from boxing in terms of, you know, how our government is allowing, you know, these subpar facilities, not just out there, it happens all the time, because of cases, you know, with, you know, health insurance, that, you know, the money is, you know, they put these big plans out there that everybody has to have insurance, which is great. That's something that, you know, which strongly support. But, you know, something, just because people have subpar insurance, that doesn't mean they should get subpar care. And more or less, I'm just hoping that, you know, Mia and her ex-husband Christoph, and the situation, which is unfortunate, you know, I hope this somehow makes a dent, not just in their battle, but in general, for all people out there.
You mean like for awareness in general?
Exactly, you know, so instead of us, you know, just because you have subpar insurance doesn't mean you should get subpar care.
No, I agree with you. I do too.
100%, and I think you're right, 100%. And, you know, that's the shame. Like I said, bigger than what is out there in the public. These guys have it where, like I said, you have these social interest groups, you got the donations, you got the private sector, you got this one, you got the governments that might fund something, and it might be subpar because we know you're going to pay for what you get. Price becomes an issue in the absence of value. And you know what? They're going to look what needs to be done on an actuary basis and what they could do, what they could tweak, what they could drive or steer people into a direction. And it's a business. It's politics, and it's almost, well, we could say we have this in place, but we know it's just here so we could say it's in place. I mean, believe me, it's a broken system. It's a freaking mess. That's what it is.
No doubt.
Absolutely, it's unfortunate. Canelo, look for him to fight Manny Pacquiao next.
Yeah, I think if Manny Pacquiao beats Jesse Vargas, you're going to see the Floyd rematch. I really do. I think you're going to see that. I don't. Manny Pacquiao, that's his goal right now. He's trying to get a rematch with Floyd.
I mean, that's the only fight he can come
well,
back
Canelo's been in the press. The reason why
about
Dax is saying this is because Canelo's been in the press saying that he wants to fight Pacquiao. And I just, Canelo's doing everything he can to avoid Triple G. Everybody wants to see Canelo fight Triple G.
And Manny needs another big money fight. If he beats Jesse Vargas, that's not going to be a big money fight. Canelo versus Pacquiao will be a big money fight for both guys. And Pacquiao can go off into the sunset, win, lose, or draw.
But Mayweather will gain by beating Pacquiao again to get his 50-0, and he will erase that Andre Berto 49th win that a lot of us just didn't like, and I don't know. I mean, it's all about you're right. If Mayweather doesn't fight him, the next big name would be, if it ain't Canelo, if it isn't Triple G, it's Canelo. So hey, Dax,
well, yeah, I think that's a good fight too.
Enjoy this
fight that never happened?
What?
Which one?
Here's one for you. Do you remember? No, hold on. We're talking about how well fight cards.
I'm trying to think. Which one?
we talk about fight cards all the time and how the quality of fight cards have declined over the years. But I want to see if either one of you guys remember this. A lot of people don't remember this fight ever being signed. But, in 1996, in December, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. was supposed to face Mickey Ward on HBO.
Yeah, I don't remember that. Mickey
you don't
Ward,
remember that?
Well, Mickey Ward, found his little niche with the 3 fights with Gotti, and that's
those
pretty
came
much
after.
No, I know, but I'm saying that those 3 fights pretty much put Mickey Ward on the map because he was, I love Mickey Ward. I'm looking at a signed picture of him in my studio right now fighting Arturo Gotti, but let's be real. It's not. The ending wasn't the way the movie was.
No, absolutely not. But now this is the thing. This is how we talk about fight card qualities. That was supposed to be the main event. The co-main event was supposed to be James Toney versus Montel Griffin, which turned out to be the main event. But also on that card was the Stevie Forbes, 2-pound Stevie Forbes, made his debut on that card. Future world champion Raul Marquez, Zahir Rahim was on that card. Lucia Riker was in her first or second fight on that card. And we had Augie Sanchez on that card. Now, do you remember when fight cards used to be like that all the time?
Yeah, that's what we talk about all the time. That's when you used to have, 3, 4, 5 fights on a card. The main fights were all great matchups like that. Now, you get Liam Smith and some other up-and-comers, and you're expected to pay $75 for it, So, yeah, we wonder what the problem is with the sport.
And here's the last trivia question for you. I'll let it go here, Bill, and you can tell me who won this fight or who lost these fights. Do you want the stats, or anybody out there can email in, and we'll just call them Fighter A and Fighter B. Fighter A landed 173 out of his 377 punches thrown. Fighter B landed 66 out of his 151 thrown. In the rematch, Fighter A landed 203 of his 506 punches thrown. Fighter B landed 157 of his 448 punches thrown. Who are those fighters and who are the winners?
Was it the Israel Vasquez and Raul Marquez fights?
No, they weren't.
Well, then I couldn't. Those are the only 2 that I would think that had punch outputs like that. Who were they?
Floyd Mayweather and Castillo.
Wow. I guess when Floyd used to throw some punches, huh?
Castillo threw those punches.
That's right. There you go. All right. Good one. That was good. Good deal. Good deal. That's why a lot of people felt he had the better end, right?
Yeah, I mean, both those punches. In matter of in the second fight, I believe he actually he threw more and he landed more. Castillo did than he did in the first fight, and same thing in the first fight. He landed. Matter of fact, in the first fight, he landed almost 60% of his 50% of his overall punches. Mayweather landed 44%, and in his second fight, he landed 35%. But Castillo outworked him, and Castillo had landed more than him, both in the power and the jab department. Yeah, Mayweather got the decision on both fights, and still today, people say they can't understand why people were trying to insist that Castillo was robbed.
Yeah, well, he was. And you know what? The Vasquez-Marquez fights, I think, were in the 600s. I think that they threw in the 600s. They had both, I think, two of their fights set records. But Dax, great stuff, my man. And we'll look forward to you next week, brother.
I'll tell you who set a record before I go. The guy that set the record, in my opinion, the greatest record of all time ever set was by Jeff Left Hook Lacey and Joe Calzaghe. In no time, in past, present, or future, will any fighter receive more punches and another fighter throw and land more punches, yet there not be a knockdown or a knockout.
Well, Calzaghe had no power, and Jeff Left Hook Lacey, when he fought that fight, he was already he obviously was the guy taking all the punches, and his arm was already shot, right?
Yeah, I mean, but still, just you remember the amount of punches. I think Joe threw about 12 or 1,300 punches in that fight. I think Jeff ate about 900 of them, and he never went down, and Joe was never able to knock him down. You know, it was like either did Jeff have an iron jaw at that point in time, or did Joe really have that much of a lack of punching power? I know that my grandmother was about 5'11", and my brother was about 6'3", and I remember she slapped the hell out of him one time, and he went down.
Yeah, well, she probably would have put Jeff Left Hook Lacey down too faster than Calzaghe would have. But Dax, enjoy the fights.
Probably so.
Enjoy the fights this
everybody,
weekend.
Enjoy your weekend.
Take care.
You
Ciao.
too, Dax. Thank you, buddy.
That's Dax Khan giving us some interesting stuff. And speaking of fights this weekend, Sal, Robert Agos Guerrero. Who are you calling, Sal?
I'm not calling nobody. That's not me, pal.
Robert Agos Guerrero is fighting David Peralta, and Alfredo Angulo is fighting Freddie Hernandez in two bigger fights, and also on that card, Terrell Gashua against Steve Martinez. Robert Agos Guerrero and Peralta had some final press quotes. Peralta said, "I want to go down the same path as Marcos Maidana and Lucas Vitisi. They were both great. They were both given great opportunities in their careers." He's talking about Argentina fighters, by the way, and he took advantage of them. I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity. I'm prepared. I came here to fight. I'm going the distance. I'm going to throw a lot of punches. I'm going to move around. I'm getting the decision. I feel this will be the most important fight of my career. The camp was good. Our preparation was great. I am nobody to judge Guerrero. He has given a lot to the sport, and he's always in good fights, but now it's my time. I plan to show my style and show everybody what I'm all about. I expect to give a great fight and leave everything in the ring. Robert Agos Guerrero said, I got a chance to size him up. I see how tall he is. I'm going to be picking my spots, seeing where I got to go. I know he's coming to fight. I'm expecting a war. Like all Argentine fighters, I know he's got the hunger to prove that he's worthy of a big opportunity that we're giving him, and he's going to make the most of it. I've seen plenty of tape on him. He's one of those guys that's durable. He's durable, tall, lanky. His height's going to help him. I'm expecting a tough fight. This is like a world title shot for him. I don't know what he's going to bring, but be able to bring to the table, but that's exciting to me. It seems to me that Garcia's kind of thinking that, Peralta's not going to give him much, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. One last thing I want to mention, Sal, is Juan Manuel Lopez, Juanma, who his last several fights was knocked out pretty savagely. He's scheduled to fight in October at the Roberto Clemente Coliseum in Puerto Rico, and he's taking on Wilfredo Vasquez in a fight that actually puts two guys that are equal together. But before they actually, even though they announced the fight, they had to, Juanma had to pass some extensive medical tests, and it was reported yesterday, according to Dr. Edgar Hernandez, that Juanma is fit. He's fit to fight. He's completed and passed all the exams, especially the neurological ones. And he's been evaluated several times after his last fight against Orlando Salido, including six. He's been fought 6 times after the Salido fight, 3 by getting knocked out savagely, and he's been evaluated. He's fine. He's fit to fight, and we'll see what happens then. So, Juanma scheduled to fight on October 8th. Hopefully everything goes well there, Sal. And I've always liked Juanma. He's a great guy, seemingly anyway. But hopefully he'll be safe. But hey, we had the trivia question, and we got a winner. The question was, who said to see a white man really worrying about me changed my whole life? I was getting so many incorrect answers, but the most common answer that everybody said was Mike Tyson. And that wasn't the case. My man Kevin Baker out of Wading River, New York, knew that Ron Lyle was the guy who said that after he was seriously wounded in a prison knife fight. When he came to on the operating table, he saw Lieutenant Cliff Maddox, the prison athletic director, standing at his bedside. And he uttered those words in a subsequent interview. To see a white man really worrying about me changed my life. He ultimately got serious with the sport of boxing, and the rest is history. Ron Lyle was a great heavyweight, in my opinion, and I'll never forget seeing him come out the first time on TV. I was like, who is this guy? I mean, he was a monster. He was chiseled. He had
just brute.
He had muscles on top of muscles, this guy.
He did.
But anyway, today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question, which is being sponsored by the Southern Gourmet Spice Company. Check out Kenny Bear's barbecue rub. It makes everything taste so much better. Visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the Southern Gourmet Spice banner. Here's the question. Who was Noah Brusso? Who was Noah Brusso? If you know who Noah Brusso was, email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. And you get a chance to win a great prize, like the unopened packs of collector boxing cards I'm going to be sending to my man Kevin Baker for getting the last trivia question right. So who was Noah Brusso? If you know that answer and you're the first one to email me correctly, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win some prizes. Hey, this day in boxing history, Sal, which is being brought to us by your special today. What's on your menu? What's the special at Sal's restaurant today?
Well, today we are serving for lunch, and we will ultimately have some for dinner. We do have a lobster roll special, and that lobster does come in from Maine, and we put it together with my family's recipe from Montauk, Long Island, and we serve it over a beautiful salad, or we put it in a little that shaved hot dog New England roll. And that's one of our specials. We're going to probably serve our beautiful, we served it last night, it was great, a nice big 16-ounce pork chop, seared and this and that, and we're going to saute some vegetables and mushrooms with that, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to call it Bust Your Chops. Not really.
I tell you what, you're making me hungry.
And of course, our linguine and white or red clam sauce will be featured tonight as well.
You're making me hungry. Now I gotta go. What am I gonna eat? But
and then of course we have a couple that came in. They were in a restaurant across the hallway last night, and they came in. They're from New Jersey, New York. Nice couple. And they just smelt the aroma as they left the one restaurant, came in and visited us and sat at the bar, had a couple drinks and cannoli, and they said they'll be back tonight. And they're going to look to have our famous pizza napoletano that we put together every day. It's a beautiful fresh mozzarella, some basil, some Roma tomatoes, a little bit of capers, and it's beautifully baked on a brick with a beautiful dough from my family's recipe, and that is going to be a featured pizza of today.
I'm coming right down. I'll be down for dinner. I'll be down for dinner. On this day, August 26th, in 1941, Gus Levanovich wins a 15-round decision over Tammy Morallo. You know that guy.
I know both those guys. They're semi-related to my family.
To win the vacant World Light Heavyweight title in New York City. On this day in 1994, Hector Acerio Sanchez, wins a 12-round decision over Tracy Patterson to win the WBC World Junior Featherweight title. Took place in Atlantic City, New Jersey. On this day in 1935, Lou Scalia wins a 15-round decision over Sixto Escobar to win the NBA World Bantamweight title. Took place in Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. On this day in 1897, Sal Senecola was born. No.
Yes, that's right.
Joe Walcott knocks out George Green in the 18th round of a scheduled fight to the finish. And for you guys that don't know, his fight to the finish had to end in a knockout. And Joe Walcott knocked out George Green in the 18th round to improve to 49 wins, 4 losses, and 5 draws. It took place in San Francisco. And on this day, August 26th, in 1904, James Jeffries knocks out Jack Monroe at 45 seconds of the second round to retain his world heavyweight title. And that also took place in San Francisco, California. That concludes our show for today. Sal, we're going to have a great week of shows next week. And again, I want to remind everybody, don't forget to check us out on Fight TV and on your mobile app, Fight.tv, FITE.tv. We're glad to be part of Fight TV's programming, and hopefully you guys will get to see us and enjoy us. And we want you to interact, so drop us an email. If you take the time to email me, we'll take the time to respond. Billy at Tuckin Boxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. Sal, get ready, man.
Well, yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Make sure you tune in Monday morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.